Well, hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Go the Distance podcast, where we have real, raw conversations about real, raw life issues. Thanks for subscribing to our podcast or watching us weekly on Facebook or our YouTube channel. We're so glad that you've joined with us. I've got Deke Samantha Alexander in the studio. It's good to have you guys in here.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome, Sam.
Yeah, thank you.
You spoke so clearly then. That was so nice. And Deke, it's good to have you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me back.
Yeah, you know, it's not every day that a guy gets to have in the podcast studio a couple who is married and both individuals have worked for him, but at opposite
It's unique,
times.
isn't
Yeah,
it? Very unique.
But I think it's probably healthy that you didn't work here at the same time.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Okay.
We might not be married
So
anymore.
Sam is definitely on the absolutely about that. Well, listen, this new studio that we have here at the office has been just an amazing avenue for coming into people's lives and into their homes each and every week on Wednesday evening or whenever they choose to view it or listen to it. And it's just a manifestation of what started it during COVID as some Facebook Live stuff on my wife's phone. You guys remember me trying to get it turned the right
yes.
way, and
That was interesting.
All
Yeah.
the frustrations with that, and so this just came out of a result of people just enjoying the opportunity to come into their lives weekly, not just on Sundays. And so we've had some amazing conversations in this room over the last, probably the last 3 months, but in particular, the last 4 or 5 weeks have just been awesome. You and I did a 2-part conversation. We just started rolling.
Yeah,
and
we had no idea.
We
looked up, we had no idea what time it was.
We
and
just,
it
we
was
just
great
had
stuff.
great conversations, and then launched out of that into the hashtag Relationship Goals series, and was able to bring my wife in and have a conversation about marriage that kind of wedged in between the 2 weeks of sermons about marriage. And then last week, wow, what an incredible time that I had with John Finch, a guy here at our church, he and his family who God brought here. They've been watching us from afar for about 10 years, and now they're a part of Rock Creek, and he's got a movie called The Father Effect, wrote a book called The Father Effect. His dad committed suicide, I think he said when he was 12 years old as a boy, and just everything that he held against his father, and then finally releasing that, and just amazing conversation about parenting and fathering last week. And so you guys are in here this week. So the reason why I brought you guys in here is because I want you guys to be able to speak into the life of everybody and tell them how they can fix all the rest of their problems. We've talked to them about marriage. We've talked to them about parenting.
Yeah.
You guys got the
We
rest,
got it.
right?
Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah,
Every bit of it.
absolutely.
But really, specifically, there is a reason why you guys are in here tonight, because we want to share some news. And so many of you watch this, and you don't go to Rock Creek, and so you may not know Deke and Sam like I do, and those of us that are Rock Creekers who love them dearly and know them well and do life with them. But many of you that do watch, you're Rock Creekers, and so you're going to need to know this information. This information will also be expressed and shared on the stage on Sunday morning in the weeks to come. But we wanted to go ahead and get the information out on what God is doing in you guys' lives, so that you can begin to chase that vision and that dream publicly and not have to just keep it all bottled up inside. So let me unpack what we're going to share with you guys tonight, with kind of where this didn't start, but where it kind of like picked up a lot of speed. Mm-hmm. So you guys know that we have a ministry in the Dominican Republic called Iglesia Bautista Celebración. Pastor Jonathan Autry is the pastor there. Now, we've had a huge part in helping get that church get started. Let me be very clear. There are other churches that support Jonathan as a missionary, but we're all in with Jonathan, and we give a large sum of money every year out of our general operating budget to IBC in the Dominican. Not only did he start the one church there in Vadon, but now he has multiple churches going with national pastors in sugarcane villages and just other locations throughout the Dominican and up in the mountain area in Bonao. And he's just, man, Jonathan is a mover and a shaker in the Dominican, and he is getting after it. And so we're just so pleased to be a part of that. It's an extension of us here. Mm-hmm. And so every soul that is saved there is a part of our life and our ministry here. So we started doing trips with Jonathan years ago. I mean, it was, I don't know, it was like 2013, the first time I went. And then I ended up going back summer of, I think 14 we went back, and when we were there in summer of 14, Jonathan was still working in Santo Domingo with his father at his father's ministry there, New Life. And Jonathan showed me that city of Adone and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a church here, and would you guys help me do that? And we brought it back to the leadership, prayed about it. You were on that trip. The next trip we take, you're on it. And so we go back down there summer of 15 after we had really kind of looked at that area. And you're on the summer of 15 trip, and you get a glimpse of it. And we ended up helping them and partnered with him to start that church, IBC, in November of 15. And it just went from there. And it's exploded. I remember when he, might have had 20 people in that little storefront room. Now they're stacking them 2 and 3 high.
Amazing things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you were there, you caught a glimpse of not just ministry, but you caught a glimpse of humanitarian needs with water, clean water, clean facilities, food to eat and that's healthy. And then also the lack of education, in particular in sugarcane villages and stuff like that. So you would have to completely see it to know it and understand it. But you got a vision for drinking water in particular, and then you started researching, because I know how you are. You Google searched everything under the sun for clean water systems, and you came across a product where they could filter the water, and out of that came a ministry called Impact Life. Now at that time you were working at LiFE Credit Union,
correct?
And then you transitioned into some other stuff there, but that's kind of where it started, was with the group there. And then you took some trips down there with some folks, a mix from the banking side and a mix from Rock Creek, and you guys went down and specifically did the water filter thing. And so it was something that God was beginning to stir in you, and then you as well, Sam, as you saw the need, and of course, if Sam sees a little pot-bellied kid and thinks, man, that kid's been eating a lot, and Jonathan says, no, it's an amoeba in his stomach because he's not got clean drinking water, Sam's going to be like, well, he can have mine, and he can have the rest of mine for life, because that's your heart. Your heart bleeds for that stuff, and so you got a vision for it, and you got a passion for it, and it started just to well up in you. Now, all of that to be said, at the same time, you were working yourself to death here with me, getting us in the building, getting the church where it needed to be financially, getting us all set up where we could work as a well-oiled machine on a daily basis, working the business side of the ministry. Because that's not what I'm called to do. I'm a pastor, and I'm called to do the ministry side, and you took a lot of that burden off of me to do the ministry side, and have flourished in that. So we move into this building in December. And we start the first of the year off, 2020, with a lot of numerical growth, but not a lot of financial growth. And we knew that there would be a stabilization period as a lot of new people would be coming in and checking us out. And let's face it, you don't give to something day one when you don't even know about it. So it took time to build trust. And so we had that window of about 3 months where we were building trust with new people, and they started giving, and then the world was blessed with COVID-19. And so we move out of the building, and then we come back in May, the end of May, and we see a huge crop of people, now a huge influx of new people again. And we're pushing 1,000 on Sunday morning again, where we were pre-COVID. But we're going through that same thing again, that stabilization where a lot of the new people are learning to trust us and trust our ministry before they invest in it. And I get that, completely get that. So through that window and that season, the church went through some really strenuous financial times.
Yes.
Because we built a facility on if you build it, they will come. Deep theological principle, I know. But it was a big risk, and it was a big face step. And we were seeing that. We were trending up and to the right pre-COVID. And we were like, yes, God is doing exactly what we knew He would do. So we had this window of time where we had to move out of the building, and everything that was trending up and to the right financially began to trend down and to the left. And it didn't get better quickly. It got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. And so we were having conversations with our lending agency that has the mortgage on the building, which is a part of our Converge church family, and they've been amazing to work with, giving us some grace and some flexibility with the payment on the building. But at the same time, they were looking for us. What are you guys going to do to kind of help offset this deficit to get through this season? So the first thing we knew we had as a asset was land.
That's correct.
We knew we had some excess land that we didn't need, like the acreage this big house sits on. We don't need this back acreage to fulfill the vision and the dream that God's given us. It's the front acreage that we need up on Fish Trap, and then some, as you extend back to the north, but we don't need all of it. So we listed up to 10 acres for sale in the house. And so many of you have seen the for sale sign back here, and you're wondering, are we selling land? And the answer is yes. Because we have got to get caught up with the lending agency, and we've got to get right side up. And do I want to sell 10 acres? No, but we have to be willing to do what we have to do to get through this season. At the same time, I've used this terminology a lot with the church. We're looking at or making staff adjustments. Well, we really hadn't made a decision what that staff adjustment was going to be. We had looked at like pay cuts across the board, 20% pay cut across the board for all staff. Of course, as soon as that came out, every staff pastor was like, oh, and so they're like, we can't do that, and so I said, well, I'll take the first one. I'll be willing to take the first pay cut, and I'll do what I need to do, and I'll adjust. And then we also looked at how could we cut back on some of the things we were doing staffing wise and make adjustments there, maybe cut back on some of the hours that were needed for certain things. And then we also then had to consider letting staff go or laying staff off. And man, when that came out, there was some real tension in the room. And not only that, but there was some real sadness in my heart, because I think the team we have is tremendous. It's just great, and we've got a good thing going here, and I just didn't want to see us do that. So you didn't say anything to me, I didn't say anything to you, and you were up at the building because you just move around everywhere. I can't get your butt to sit in one office. One day you're up there, next day you're over here, next day you're over here. So that one day you were over at the building working on one of the high top tables by the cafe. It's probably a contractor was coming in, and you were trying to meet him there to do a punch out list item. So I go over there because I need to talk to you about something, and whatever I needed to talk to you about never happened. Because when I walked in that day, you said to me, I think that I have the answer to the staffing issue. And you said, it's me. Because when I look at all the staff, I'm the only one that can eject off the church staff and go back into the secular work of banking in particular. And I can still do for you what I need to do for you. I can still do it in the evening or part-time and, on my own hours, and I can go back into full-time banking. And then we've been blessed with an incredible couple, Randy and Pam Holman. He did exactly what you do for First Baptist Lubbock for 30 years, and he said, hey, I'll give a couple days a week my time for free.
To fill the gap.
To fill the gap. Well, at first I told you no. I didn't want you to do that. I told you to be patient. And you were like, well, we've been as patient as we can be, but I think the end of the line is coming. And so by the end of the conversation, I said, okay, well, go find what you can find and come back and tell me. So I'm going to stop talking right there, let you pick up on what you have found in regards to going back into the banking world.
Yeah, so that obstacle led to what I think is an opportunity for us, not only individually, but for the church to do exactly what you're talking about, which is to steward properly for the season, not just that we went through, but going forward, and to prepare for the tremendous amount of growth that we are already seeing and what the future days look like. And before I unpack that, just to make mention of what you had said, day one in this ministry here, in our journey here, was to serve. It wasn't about a job, it wasn't about a title, it wasn't about a paycheck. And so in whatever capacity we could do that, we were willing to do that. And that decision and that discussion that day didn't just come you and I. That discussion came through some prayer here as well, because I felt it and we discussed it, we had prayed about it and prepared for that. And so knowing that I needed to talk to you about that from the stewardship side of it and the business side of it. And that opened a door for me to journey that road and say, okay, God, if you're obviously confirming this, and Brad's sitting here saying, okay, let's release that, let's go look at that, and let's see what that looks like, then I'll give that its full attention. while at the same time maintaining all the responsibilities I have at Rock Creek. And I met with mentors, I met with industry leaders, met with investment bankers, met with attorneys, met with CEOs of banks. We talked to several people just to try to get confirmation over, okay, if that's the route that God that you're going to take us on, then continue to open doors or shut doors. Mm-hmm. And so as we journeyed that process, we found doors open that I think were a test in some season. And then we saw doors close in regards to affirmation with people, even our mentors and those who were interviewing me saying, Deke, we hear what you're saying and we know that you're a great asset for our organization, but we also are hearing what's going on in your heart and in your head and even through your wife. And so we really want you to press into that and lean into that and trust into that and kind of open your heart up to what God you may be taking a step, but it doesn't need to be in our direction. It needs to be in a different direction. And so we started to journey that, and we started to unpack really the foundational stuff of what you were mentioning, which is, sometimes I gave a message to the men a few weeks ago about outpacing God. And as I was talking that day, I got in my car that right after I talked to him at Rudy's, I was thinking about what an amazing walk in this journey, even with you and through COVID. A lot of people have said COVID's caused so many things, but it's also allowed so many things, especially in this moment in our life, to not only honor you as our pastor, but to honor our local church by stepping out in faith and really trusting in the foundational ministry work that he'd already given us an opportunity to step in years ago, and that's through Impact Life.
Yeah.
And so we started to journey that and venture that and say, okay, God, if this is the direction you want for us and our family, then start opening those doors and making those next steps confirmed that it's your will, not us. And a matter of fact, I remember the first time we really embraced that as a couple. I remember Samantha just weeping in prayer and saying, God, our heart is just busting with this. If this is not your will, don't let it be. And so we started walking that out, and we started talking to those same people that we were seeking counsel from, and even in the banking industry leaders, and they started to affirm of, this is the direction that we thought you would go. And so I came to you, and we met with you and Sarah and had a great conversation with you and Sarah and shared our heart and shared not just the vision of the foundational side of Impact Life, but really what was on our heart to go and do. And you mentioned that to take the work we had done with water filtration to another level with sustainable clean water that can, one water plant can provide enough clean water for 15,000 people. Less than $2 per person, we can provide long-term sustainable water for people. Beyond that, to feed kids. Beyond that, to educate them. But the most important thing of all is, Impact Life is there to partner with the local church. The hope of the world is the local church. And so our job in the Dominican Republic is to partner with the local church and add value to that and help with the physical need while the church oversees and handles the spiritual need. Yep. And so it's amazing to be able to not only have the foundational ministry that we've had over those years, but also to look to the future and see how we can help with church planting, how we can help and partner with the local church. And, as we say, engage, educate, and empower generations in the Dominican, one village at a time. Yeah. And so
he's interviewing for all these bank positions, getting offers, and he's coming home and he's talking to you. So what are you hearing when he comes home and tells you, hey, I got an opportunity at this bank, at this bank? I mean, are you seeing the same Deke that you saw 10 years ago that would have an opportunity at a bank? What were you experiencing?
At first, he was really excited about it. I mean, some of the offers and some of the opportunities that were presented, he was extremely excited about. And I feel like it really lit a fire under him to engage more into, that banking side of things. And so the part that was standing out most to me was just the financial aspect of it. And I just there were these offers coming that were, more money than he'd ever been paid. And, that should excite someone, right? That kind of, we could be in a really good place financially. This could really set us up for great financial success. And,
let's make it clear to everybody so people understand. When he came to work at Rock Creek, there was a large pay cut.
Yeah,
There was.
68% pay cut.
Yeah. So you had to eject out of a lot of things. Your home, you had to downsize.
Yeah, I sold my car, my lot, a retirement lot, and the house.
So a lot of the things you knew in your life, you let go of to follow a call to come here. And it wasn't that it was getting that stuff back. It was just, we talked, he actually said this to me, Sam, not only will I save the church money, but I'll actually bring more revenue into the church because I'll be back to making a salary that I was making before I came here, and it'll allow us to give away
that's the
more.
exciting part
So
of it.
the banker in him, the wheels were turning. Okay, I'm saving the church money and I'm going to be able to give more back to the church.
Right.
But at the same time, the only reason why I could say to him, okay, I'm willing to allow you to do that is because we had gotten over the hump of that season of getting to the building and getting in the building and the structure being in place, the infrastructure to be able to run the systems of the church. So back to the conversation. I just want to make sure everybody understood that.
Yes. So, but God was doing something in me, which the Lord's been working on me for several years, which we'll get to later. But that God was doing something in my heart that I told Deke. I said, I don't want it. It's that that's not important to me anymore.
You didn't want the
financial security of
the big paying job,
right?
Yeah,
right.
The executive banking level job,
right?
Yeah.
And so.
Well, you could have just given some of it to Sarah and I.
I mean, yeah, sure. I would have. I would have. You know how generous I am.
Yes, you are.
But as we went further and further along in the process, and the more we prayed together about it, the more we realized, okay, this water's getting really muddy. And so we need to stop and reevaluate what's going on here.
Wow, that's a great analogy. The water in both locations is getting muddy. The water in the Dominican is dirty, and the water here was getting a little muddy, huh?
It was.
Yeah, you were needing clarity.
We did.
And so what started out, now this ties back to the opening of the podcast, what started out as this idea of we can put these plastic water filtration systems in these villages where they pour dirty water in, it filters out and it becomes clean. What started off there with, hey, can we just help them? Has now manifested itself into this huge vision to provide a whole village with clean drinking water. So who knows how that all plays out and how that's all going to happen. But it has led to a major decision. And that means a big change coming for the Alexanders.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's also for Cash and Kennedy.
Correct.
And so, it's for Kennedy. Cash isn't going anywhere. So, so tell me a little bit about what God is leading you guys to do. And it's not banking. I think we figured that out.
That's correct.
That the banking side of things just wasn't lighting the passion and the fire in y'all's heart and life. So,
No.
Well, I remember it goes back to a devotional that we've kind of been coming back to over and over again in conversation about Elisha and about how he came from a generation of farmers, very similar to both of us, came from a generation of bankers.
Ah, yes.
And so bankers, just like Elisha, you think, well, that makes sense. It's the most logic step. Even in that moment with you was the logical thinking of, well, that makes sense. That could allow for X, Y, and Z, and it all adds up, right? But sometimes it's not ABC. And sometimes it's not 1, 2, 3, right? It doesn't logically add up the more you travel it and journey it.
It's called ministry.
It's called ministry. And so where that devotion led us was really into what he did. And in order to accept the call that God had on his life was to really remove any exit strategy. And I think the way God used banking, it was, I didn't just... As far as banking, I'm not just the only banker in the room. And I think he used both of us in our past, both of us in our family's past, to really look at that. And it was a generational decision, to make a generational decision moving forward. And I remember one night we were talking, and I told her, I said, one of the main things that we can look back on in the generations behind us that were all bankers was that they loved the Lord and they loved people. Mm-hmm. And that's the most important foundational thing we can take from that generational experience of banking and move forward with the ministry that God's called us to. And so we had to run that race, I think, her and I both did, of getting to that cliff and looking over it and saying, okay, we're going to remove all exit strategies. And that's what we did. And so God's calling us now to.
So what have you removed? What is the exit strategy you've taken away?
Which would be the banking industry.
All right. So now what's the path?
So the path now would be a transition full time to the Dominican Republic
For Impact Life.
For Impact Life.
So you're going to pick everything up.
We are. Actually, we're going to sell everything.
Selling it all.
Luckily you do live in a lease.
Right,
for a house.
that's correct.
So you can eject.
Talk about a blessing. Yeah.
But you're going to be downsizing by basically saying bye-bye to this life and this world, and you guys are going to move your family to Vadon, Dominican Republic, Ciudad de la Palma, to be exact, which would be a gated neighborhood down there where you can rent a home, and you're going to move down there, and you're going to set up shop in the Dominican Republic to get Impact Life up and going at a level that it's never seen.
Right.
Correct.
So we're talking about moving beyond plastic water filters to clean water in villages that don't have clean water available to them. Right. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions about that, and probably you don't have a lot of the answers even at this point. You've got some, but it's a work in progress. But you're going to be down there. You're going to be in the same city that Jonathan and Janine are in. You're not working for IBC. You're not going down there to be Jonathan's exec.
Right.
You're going down there to lead Impact Life, which is a parachurch organization, a humanitarian organization that partners with the gospel. I mean, it's hard to present the gospel to a kid who's hungry and has not had a clean drink of water, but if you give them both at the same time, you can feed their hearts and feed their bellies at the same time, feed their souls. So that's what you're doing. You're ejecting not out of our staff back into banking. You're actually ejecting out of this country. You're moving to the Dominican. Now I know, because I know how parachurch organizations work, and we have relationships with several. It may be something where you're only there for a couple of years. You get it set up with national leaders, and then you come back to the States, and then you go down there 3 to 4 times a year, and you have a staff down there, aka Berrywood Ministries in Africa, something of that nature. That might be where God leads you. God may keep you down there the rest of your life. You don't know, but you're going, and so if you're going, tell the people what the timeline of you going looks like.
So we would be transitioning towards the middle of December to a full-time basis down there before the end of the year.
Okay. And so in regards to that, I know you're trying to raise money for that first year, to get down there and get your feet on the ground, get the process started, get the journey going. I know you've worked on a lot of it here, but in beyond that, there's going to be a lot of learning when you get down there.
Yes.
So you was telling me the other day with corporate donors, you're at about 50% of raised of what you're going to need for a year. You guys have done your estimations, and to live as well as get the ministry of Impact Life started down there. You said about $90,000 is what you need. Between $90,000 and $100,000 for 1 year, and so you're at about $50,000, and so you're looking for people.
Yes.
To give to that. You're looking for people to support you guys. We've had conversations, and you know where my heart is, and so I want to say publicly to all those of you that call Rock Creek your church home, Deke and I are fully 100% on the same page that taking money away from Rock Creek to give to Impact Life is not going to help either organization.
No.
So this is above and beyond what you give to Rock Creek. If
Correct.
you feel like you want to support the Alexanders, support Impact Life, see Deke. I know Deke would love to talk to you. See Sam, she would love to visit with you on how you can get on board with them, get involved with them. I do have a plan, and I do have a desire and a vision that at some point Rock Creek will do that as well. He knows the financial state of the church, and right now we're not at a place to be able just to
Right.
go all in with it. But as soon as we can, we want to get involved with it because it will partner with IBC. IBC will be a one track, and Impact Life will be another track, but they can feed, for lack of a better term, spiritually feed into each other,
Right.
nourish each other,
Right.
and also help each other grow. And so Jonathan's going to be very important to you with inroads, and you're going to be able to give Jonathan some counsel if he needs it on certain things
Correct.
down there himself. So all that to say is, it's not what I expected to hear when you brought it to me, but I'm excited for you because I can see that you're not going to not do it. It's like you've come to that point where you're like, okay, we would do this if there was anything else we could go do, but there is nothing else we can go do because this is where our heart is, this is where God has moved us, and we're already there. We're just existing here. And so I see that in you guys. I see that passion. We shared with the staff a couple weeks
Right.
ago, so the staff is aware of the transition, but we needed to make the public aware, the church
Correct.
aware, so that you could have a conversation with people that might want to support it. Now, is Impact Life a 501c3
We are.
organization?
Yes, we are.
So all donations to you are fully tax deductible.
That's correct.
So if you wanted to get involved with Impact Life, you wouldn't give to Impact Life through Rock Creek. You would give directly to Impact Life, and Deke can share all of that with you. And you have a website.
Yes, impactlife.today.
ImpactLife.today. Oh, that's pretty cool. Impact Life Today.
Exactly.
But don't forget the dot. And I assume there's a giving portal on there.
There is.
Yeah.
There
so
is.
so ImpactLife.today. You can go on there and give there. So let's get this 50% raised for them. Let's get them their first year down there. Let's make that happen, because I know as you get down there, you're going to find, you're going to probably have to continue to raise funds. Welcome to leading a parachurch / local church organization.
Right.
You tend to find yourself as a professional fundraiser as well as a leader of a ministry. Now, before we wrap up, how are the kids handling this? Where is Kennedy and Cash on this? Because, I know
Well, Cash, you said it's not going, right?
Yeah, well, Cash isn't going. That's right. But Cash is about to turn 4. I mean, Cash really, it's not going to be hugely impactful for him. But Kennedy, yeah.
Yeah, Cash is really excited because he gets a new bed.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bunk bed with dinosaur bedding, so he's super thrilled
he's
about
good.
that.
He's good,
He's
yeah.
excited
That
about
he,
that.
he can swing
so-
a golf club, so he's good to go. Yeah.
Kennedy was not as thrilled about us telling her the news, but she's 9, so she doesn't get a choice. And we had to explain to her that, this is where the Lord was leading our family, and she has a big part of that too. So we think that she's just going to grow so much by being able to be a part of it. She's getting excited now. She's upset that she'll miss her friends
Yeah.
and she won't be able to see them. But with all of the technology now, it's, I told her we'll be able to talk to friends
Sure.
and see them just
Sure.
as if they were sitting across the table. And we've been in quarantine for 6 months anyway, so that's what we've been doing, right? We've been
Practicing it.
Yeah, FaceTiming and Zooming and
Yeah.
all that. She was really upset that she was not going to be able to take her dogs. But we think that we've found a way around that.
I can't
So
get rid of those dogs.
We're excited about that. And I think overall she'll be fine. Kids are resilient.
Yeah,
and
well, here's what I'll tell you guys. If God's called you there, He'll eventually call her there too. He just may not have yet because she just hasn't fully embraced it or understood it. When we left to come start COC, now Rock Creek, Haley was finishing up her 7th grade year at Pilot Point Middle School. And that's a really hard age to move a girl in particular. And boy, there was some days that she didn't let me forget about it. But as time passed, she got a vision for what God was doing in and through our family. And now she looks back, she's so glad we did it. So
Yeah.
God will bring her along in that call, even though she doesn't fully comprehend and understand it right now. He'll, a lot of it will be getting there.
Yeah.
And living that life, and she's gonna have to learn Spanish.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, y'all are all gonna have to learn Spanish. Now I know there's English speakers down there that you'll be dealing with too, but I'm sure Jonathan Janine's girls will help her with the Spanish.
Yes.
But well, it's really exciting for you guys. I'm super excited.
Thank you.
I'm not as happy as I wish I could be sometimes because I don't want to see my friends leave.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, you worked for me for 6 years, and then you've been with me now full time. How many years?
So full time this month, I've been 2 years with you full time.
Yeah.
We started this journey in 2014
Yeah.
at 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
emails, and
Yeah.
so it's been a
Yeah.
journey.
Well,
It's
so-
been fun though.
Yeah, it's been fun. And so you're not only people that I pastor and lead, you're my friends.
Yes.
And so we'll miss you guys. Just know that you need to have a spare bedroom if we want to come see you.
Right.
Absolutely.
Wait,
Right.
I do know one thing people might be interested in because they know your mom lives with you. Your
Yeah.
mom is a widow and she lives with you.
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
going with you.
Yeah,
She
she
is.
is going. So
She's-
mom is going.
Yeah.
It's really been an amazing journey with her through this season and seeing all that God's done and facilitating things around her to get her physical health in the right spot and to see what this is starting to do in opening up even the emotional and spiritual side of it for her. And she does have a job or a role with Impact Life there and helping with some of the administrative stuff and working with our CPA, and our CPA is giving her stuff to do. And so just to see her empowered too, and to see, really, I told her the other night, really, this is kind of that journey that Impact Life is on, is the physical health side of it. She's actually lived it. So for the physical health to grow, and now watching her receive the emotional and the spiritual side of it. And so she's kind of the living mascot, if you will, for Impact Life. But she's doing a great time.
mascot.
Yeah, she's enjoying
That's
it,
fun.
and she's excited, and she's learning as much as she can. So yeah.
So let me close out tonight with this thought, and I want everybody that's watching to hear this. For years I thought that the health of a church so many times was compared to its seating capacity. So you see these massive churches that run 10,000, 15,000.
Come on, somebody.
You see this big seating capacity and you think, oh, what a healthy church. Look how large that is. And what I've learned through the 12-year journey at Rock Creek is the health of the church isn't based on its seating capacity, it's based on its sending capacity.
Yep.
And so we've been able to be a part of helping well over 10 churches get started in the last 12 years here in Texas through Vision Texas, as well as help start IBC, and now we're just doing it again. We're going to help see Impact Life go to the Dominican in a full-time capacity, give people what they need for their physical health so that they can be spiritually healthy through Christ. So it's just another extension of us, and we look forward to hearing the reports and seeing what God does through you guys down there. And wow, welcome to being a missionary to some degree. It's crazy. It's the biggest risk I've ever took was to come start Rock Creek. This is the biggest risk you guys will ever take in your entire life.
Yes.
But it won't be the last risk.
Right.
But it'll be probably the biggest. So
I'll add, Kennedy said, hey, Mom, what about when we're done? What about when we're done at the Dominican Republic? And I said, well, we may not ever be done. That's God's work. So we
Yeah.
don't know when we're ever going to be done, but who knows? God may call us to Africa next.
Oh my
She said,
gosh.
no way.
he might. They need
You
clean
never know.
drinking
Yeah.
water all over the world.
You never know.
Well, I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Man,
I'll say-
how far you've come, brother.
I know.
So, in the relationship series that we're in, just seeing all of the activity on social media, and first off, thank each and every one of you, and continue to pour in that engagement and connectivity, because we're hearing stories. And what you just said is kind of like, to think about that story and that journey that we kind of unpacked for people on the raw and real episodes, 1, 2, 3, I think there's like 3 or 4 of them at this point. But unpacking that and seeing what God's grace has done. I can't think, as far as the leader of this household, you and Sarah, in leading not just the ministry, not just, and I understand the church, but leading us individually.
Yes.
and having grace, being there for times where it's not just about, big decisions. It's the road, the walk, and the journey, and developing as our relationship, the series we're in, as our relationships developed. You guys have been integral in that, and not just you and Sarah, but our church staff, and even the Converge world, and what they've done, speaking into both of our lives and into our ministry. And so, thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's all part of the journey. It's our joy, as they say at Chick-fil-A. My pleasure. But this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
If everybody just stays here and stays in the four walls, I haven't done my job. The challenge is to leave your chair and go do something with what you've learned. And it may be simply going across the street, but for you guys, it's going to another part of the world. So that's just whatever God says. That's what you do. And so thanks for answering the call. Thanks for being sensitive to it. And may God use you guys to change that part of the world, and whoever knows where else in the world you guys go with Impact Life. May you get old someday and be on your dying bed breaking hips together and look at each other and say, we made a difference.
Right.
And I'm glad we did, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay? Can I pray with you guys?
Absolutely.
God, thank you for our time with Deke and Sam, and I just thank you for what they've done here in our ministry for now over 10 years, and the years that Sam worked here as my personal assistant, and then the last 2 years that Deke has been here with us full time, and then the years before that he ran 100 miles an hour, worked 24 hours a day for the banking world and also the church world. Lord, thank you for Cash and Kennedy and the sweet little kids that they are, and what they mean to so many in our church and to Sarah and I. Lord, we're going to miss them. There's going to be a hole here that'll need to be filled, but we know that you have those people to fill those voids and holes, or you wouldn't remove them. I pray that you go before them, literally, prepare a way where there is no way, open doors where they're closed. Lord, drill holes where holes need to be drilled, where clean water can spring up from the earth. Lord, just use them in a mighty way to make a difference, to nourish the stomachs and the bodies of children and adults, so that they can clearly see the gospel of Jesus through that and hear the message of Jesus and give their souls to Him. Populate heaven because of their work, and at the same time keep them on earth longer. Extend their life because of the health of their bodies through Impact Life. Lord, we thank you for our time, and thank you for being able to do this each and every week. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys, thanks for your time this week. Again, you can visit with the Alexanders anytime you want at Rock Creek, or you can go to impactlife.today. God bless you guys. We'll see you next week.